does a trademark apply to the process of private labeling? What is private labeling anyways? Is private labeling right for you? If I'm interested in starting a business, should I be considering private labeling? Hi everyone, my name is Marcella Dominguez and I welcome you back to my channel. Today we're going to be touching on a very important topic for those who are interested in private labeling. Now, this is going to be a 3-part series, so I invite you to hit subscribe so that you can be notified of when I release part 2 and part 3. Now, each of these steps is going to be part of a bigger picture. So I really need you to watch all 3 of those parts in order for you to understand what this private label picture looks like. Now, if you're somebody that has been considering starting a business or somebody who wants to start a private label brand, then you need to consider whether you are person A or person B. If you're watching any of my videos, then you know that I always like to split things up between person A and person B because it helps create a more personal path and more personal journey for you. So if you're person A, that means that you're somebody who might already have a following. Maybe you have quite a few followers on Instagram. Maybe you have a professional business following on LinkedIn. Maybe you're somebody that has already started a business page on Facebook but hasn't necessarily figured out how to monetize it. You could also be person B, somebody who is simply considering the process of private labeling, but you haven't quite figured out what to do. You haven't even started a page, you don't have a following. So the most important thing for person B to consider is a niche. Yes, you should have a niche. So if you're person B, somebody who hasn't created a single thing, then creating a niche is something for you to think about. Who is it that you're going to be targeting? You don't have anyone following you yet, so you want to make sure that you're targeting the people that you want to ultimately cater to and ultimately sell to. So if person A already has a following, then I want to consider what my current audience would want to see from me. So if I'm currently serving artists, then it wouldn't make sense to go out and buy electronics because maybe the artists that I'm serving are not interested in that. But artists that I am serving might be interested in watercolors, in pastels, in paintbrushes, in canvases, in sketchbooks. So that's why if you already have a following, then it's important to look at your analytics and see, are these people interested in maybe watercolors? It's important to be really specific about the audience that you're serving because that will help you better identify the product, which we will get into in this 3-part series. So compare that to person B who doesn't have a following. Well, they don't have any analytics. They don't have any statistics to analyze. So for them, the process might be a little bit backwards. It might be flipped. They could either decide, hey, this is the type of product that I want to sell. Maybe I'm somebody who really likes dresses. Well, what kind of dresses am I going to choose? Am I going to choose bodycon dresses, which are really tight dresses? Am I going to choose simple cotton dresses for everyday wear? Because the types of people that wear bodycon dresses are not the same types of people that are going to want maybe simple cotton dresses. So for that person, you can choose a product first and then start targeting your audience based on the type of product that you have selected. But maybe you want to do it the other way around. Maybe you want to decide, you know what, I don't know what product I want to sell yet, but I do know that I want to serve female entrepreneurs between the ages of 25 and 35 because that is who I am and that is who I can best communicate with. So if you're that person who knows that you want to serve a particular audience, then the remaining piece is to figure out what type of product would best serve that audience. So otherwise, you're just going to be picking whatever product and hoping that anybody and everybody buys it. Another reason that a niche is really important is because it helps you hone down on your marketing. So for example, if I am choosing millennial men between the ages of, let's say, 29 to 39, 30 to 40, then I'm not going to be targeting or marketing to that niche in the same way that I would be marketing to 30 to 40-year-old female entrepreneurs. Perhaps there might be some overlap between the two, but ultimately maybe there's a difference in how I'm going to speak to them because men don't communicate the same way that women do, and the message might be perceived differently based on what I say, the fonts I use, the colors I use. So a niche is important because it's going to help you figure out what product they like, how they like to receive messages, and how you'll have to communicate with them. And having a niche will also make your advertising more economical. So I'm going to give you an example of a private label that I started a couple of years back before I actually became a lawyer. So I own a brand and it is called Stoey Joey. Now, when I went through this process of starting Stoey Joey, I thought to myself, okay, what kind of product am I creating? Because that was what I knew I was going to do first. And for us, it was coloring products. So here's one of our coloring products. It's actually a coloring tablecloth that can be used by kids or adults. But at the inception of the business, I knew that I wanted to, serve moms between the ages of 25 and 40 because I was a mom between the ages of 25 and 40. And so that's what made sense to me. I knew that I could put myself in their shoes. I knew what their biggest pain points were, what their struggles were, especially in terms of entertaining kids, because we know that kids get bored pretty easily. So, starting this private label brand was one of many ways that you can start a private label brand, which I will get into later on in this 3-part series. And so I invite you to hit subscribe so you can be notified of part 2 and part 3. But I bring this up to give you an example of how I had to think about my niche. When I started a private label brand, it was really important to know who I was going to be serving. Now, I am not going to be marketing this necessarily to men, but if I do, it would be to fathers of young children. So I primarily serve other mothers. Now, that wasn't enough. It's not enough to say, hey, I'm going to target a mom with kids. I have to think about what age bracket are these kids going to be in? Are they going to be elementary age? Are they going to be toddlers? Are they going to be middle school kids? Which was going to be less likely in my situation. And why is a niche so important in my private label brand? Well, because it's really important to be specific so that I could speak to them in their language. Now, because I had young kids at the time, I could identify with what their struggles were. And now that my own kids are older, I know what those pain points are. When you are thinking about your niche, it's important to know what that niche's pain points are and what their struggles are so that you can speak to those in your marketing. Because you don't just want to slap your product up on Facebook or any social media platform without knowing what your unique selling proposition is. So in my situation, I was person B. I did not necessarily have a following, but I knew the product that I wanted to create, and I had to ask myself, which audience was I going to serve with this product? And so that's how I was able to create a niche. And so now we have StoeyJoey.com, which caters to mothers between the ages of 25 to 40 who are artistic in their own right. And so they enjoy coloring, they enjoy artistry, and they enjoy going back to basics and by practicing their motor skills. So having a private label brand is similar to just growing a regular business, because it is a regular business. So you always have to ask yourself, what is my niche? Who am I going to serve? Because my private label is going to function like a business, any other type of business. I have to figure out who I'm going to serve, how I'm going to speak to them, how I'm going to market and advertise to them, and what types of products are they looking for, what are their pain points, and what are their biggest struggles. So there has to be compatibility. It has to make sense. What I say and what I offer has to make sense with what their needs, what their struggles are. So there has to be a match.
So if you found this video useful, make sure that you stay tuned for part 2 and part 3 of this 3-part series. Make sure that you hit subscribe and the bell button so you can be notified of when I release part 2 and part 3. So if you learned a whole lot in this video, make sure that you drop the word wow in the comments below so I know that you were paying attention.